Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Created Economy podcast. It's our weekly interview series where Greg and I chat with the key players from the creator economy and talk about the most important topics in the industry. We publish new episodes every Wednesday. You can find out more about us on our website at createdeconomy.com. Be sure to also follow us everywhere on social media. We are at Created Economy on Twitter and also at Created Economy on YouTube. And for all the latest information, be sure to check out our Flipboard magazine at flipboard.com/@createdeconomy. Also, we've actually now moved the podcast to audio form, so you can also download and listen to all the episodes right from your favorite podcasting app. Just go to Apple, go to Google, go to Spotify or any other app and check out the Created Economy podcast for all the latest episodes. All right. And with that, let's bring on our guests at this time. I'm going to bring on Lyonel Dougé and Vic Boddie, the co-founders of a great company called TipSnaps. And they have an interesting premise and a great story to tell. So we'll bring them on and we'll have a chat. Lyonel, Vic, how's it going?
Again, good. How are you?
Oh, not too. Thanks for joining. Thanks to both of you for joining us, joining me on the show. I want to kind of get a little bit of a before we kind of really dive deep into what TipSnaps is doing. Why don't you introduce yourselves? Tell the listeners and what you guys are doing, and then why start this company? Because you're most people that come on the show that are entrepreneurs, they're like, okay, we're all in. But you have an interesting story because you're not necessarily all in. So why don't you start?
Sure. So thanks. So let us be clear. We are all in. We are all in. And in fact, we've done more than most founders who are all in. Am I still on? Because I only see myself now.
You're still on. Yep.
All right. So just quickly, Lyonel Dougé, founder and CEO of TipSnaps, launched TipSnaps in 2017. Computer science background, engineering background, worked for a bunch of media companies like Sony Music, Viacom, ESPN, the NFL, and then while bootstrapping TipSnaps full-time at Johnson & Johnson, leading their consumer basically web platform, so sites like Listerine.com or Neutrogena.com, product owner of that platform. Anyway, so let Vic introduce himself real quick.
Hey, good afternoon. This Vic Boddie. Background, I joined TipSnaps late 2020 to come on and help do what I do best, and that's kind of drive teams, organize, structure, we partner for growth. Lyonel and I have been friends for years, and TipSnaps is kind of the genesis where we kind of came together. So he brought me on to kind of help the team grow and help with some of the messaging, particularly surrounding the DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion message of TipSnaps. And so done a lot of that at FDA. I've spent years as a supervisor there, leading big teams. I have my background's in science. I have a PhD in biology. So this is quite different stretch from TipSnaps, but the part that brought me here was definitely helping to drive the product and adoption.
So what caused you guys to create TipSnaps?
So if I just tell you our mission is to be the platform of choice for culture driving creators with a particular focus of uplifting creators of color who are historically underserved. But let's go back to 2016 when I'm full-time at J&J. I'm scrolling through Instagram and just recognizing back then the term creator wasn't broadly accepted. Even the term influencer wasn't broadly accepted. And I'm scrolling through Instagram and I'm seeing everyday people go from 5,000 to 10,000 to 100,000 followers, no link in bio, not promoting a single thing, and just understanding that there is huge opportunity here for these folks to just directly charge their fans, their most fervent fans, their most true fans, money for exclusive content, whether it's $5, $10, $15 a month. Many of these people can monetize their content directly. Having that epiphany in 2016, before, Patreon existed, but before the creator economy was around. And And so I was so convicted. I decided to bootstrap nights and weekends for 6 months. I literally was coding in this bedroom or in this office, nights and weekends. We launched in March of 2017. Literally started DMing people. I started DMing people with 1 million followers. Within a week, we got one fitness creator with 1 million followers, and she joined TipSnaps, and that kind of launched it. Just launched it. She started monetizing, of course, the maker network effect. Although creators are very creative and ingenious in a lot of ways, they're also they're watching each other, right? So they're following each other in many ways. So, one fitness trader led to another fitness trader and led to one model. And then, so within our first year of business, we literally bootstrapped to 100,000 registered users and $600,000 in GMV in marketplace sales. So again, this was like 2018. And, it was really impressive metrics. I have no startup ecosystem background. I come from very humble beginnings in San Bernardino, California, one of the poorest counties and cities in the country. So I didn't have like a network of a bunch of folks. In fact, like just working at a big company like Johnson & Johnson, I was within my family, I was like looked at as like the pinnacle of success. At the same time, I'm like, there's a lot of opportunity, and I feel like my ideas are valid. And we built this thing. So fast forward to now, 5 years later, we have almost 500,000 registered users on the platform, 8.5 million visitors come to the site, paid out almost $2.5 million to creators. And we have a more focused mission now, right? The creator economy is broadly accepted. Everybody understands subscriptions for creators and fans. But since we were so early in predicting that, we also have we believe, a unique perspective on the creator economy and a 360 understanding of where it's going. But I'll hand it over to Vic to speak more about, our current mission and where we're really leaning into.
Right. Yeah. What Lyonel alluded to is we have this mission and vision to support creators of color, content creators of color, what we've recognized and what we've seen across media. There are a lot of articles that have come out that saying, Black content creators make 35% less than their white counterparts. I think it was a recent article that's saying Black content creators on Instagram are 50%. They have a chance, like 50% chance of being, shadow banned and demoted. Their voices demoted on the platform versus their white counterparts. So we recognized these inequities early, and we saw that it was happening. And so what we've done is, we wanted to build a platform for everyone, and we have. But we also wanted to make sure that Black and brown content creators of color understood that we valued their creativity and that they have a home platform with us. And so, just going out on that message and being very, very loud about that message, it has gotten us adoption across all cultures. We get just as many white content creators joining our platform as we do Black, as we do, Latinx. So it's really inspiring message, and I think that's what's continuing our growth as a company, is the fact that we've recognized that inclusion doesn't mean exclusion, right? We're just including, making other groups feel that they are valued and they're important, and that there's platforms there that kind of recognize their potential. So we're really excited about this message.
So that's certainly a good point, and I want to dive into, but I also want to look into, how do you separate TipSnaps from other services, right? So let's talk about, how does TipSnaps work, and then we can go from there.
Sure. So TipSnaps very competitive to other creator economy monetization platforms. You can think Patreon, even OnlyFans. You could think of Fan House. But again, our focus and our mission is really, it's bleeding through into our branding and how the app shows up to the creators, right? So the creators we're focused on. So just some context: $360 billion in ad revenue was generated from just 3 companies last year in social media, right? So the top 3 you'd imagine: so Meta, Alphabet, YouTube, Twitter, right? So it's insane, and none of that money has gone back to the users who are generating this. Ultimately, the reason why all this money is generated. So I think Web3, all these creators now are recognizing, okay, there's some value. Even users, consumers, and fans are like, there's value in my activity here, and people are migrating. But our mission is so we've scraped YouTube, and there are 1.5 million black hair and beauty creators on YouTube with almost 1.5 billion videos associated. So we just scraped for like hashtags like black girl magic, curly hair, just hashtags related to natural hair and beauty. And it's billions of watch hours. And we know that for creators, even as a YouTube partner, that's not optimal monetization, right? So the average creator sees monetization as like, okay, maybe I could get some ad revenue partnership from YouTube or another platform, even TikTok, but we know it's pennies on the dollar, right? And the primary way that many creators want to monetize is brand deals, but not every creator could land a brand deal. If you have, and our motto is everybody's a creator. So if you have 500 followers or 500,000 followers, you still can monetize a fraction of your fan base. And so I think you would agree, Ken, that direct monetization, subscriptions or tips, like one-off exchanges for content, is definitely the present, but also going to grow rapidly in the future. And everybody's recognizing this, which is why many of our competitors have, multi-billion-dollar valuations. So, black hair and beauty, comedians of color, athletes, NIL rights, right? Children influencers of color. We are branding and marketing directly to them. And so it's, I think it's like any form of media where niche platforms and niche channels have to exist. Was television, BT, if it's magazine, it's Ebony magazine. And so it just has, or music and specific labels and imprints that were related to urban and black music and black culture. So we think that's enough, right? And it's working. It's not a theory. We wouldn't have 450,000 registered users if it's just a theory. Right. So we think that's enough, but we also have specific features that we are really early in market with around crowdfunding for content, which brings equity to fans. Because we're looking for equity for creators, but we also see a part where fans are not really equitable in the creator economy. And then, we have favorable rates. We have a 10% platform fee, so it's really competitive. A lot of platform fees are nearing 15, 20%. So we think that's better for creators. And we're early, right? And so I'll pause there. Maybe Vic, if you feel like I missed something, but that I feel is like that's really our differentiator.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things that we worked on and got figured out really early was the fintech component of how to pay people. I think that's been one of the things that I think some of our competitors, I don't know if they've really gotten that grasp of that. And kudos to Lyonel for really working that in the very beginning, from a tax verification, age verification. Very early on, we experienced a lot of this, and unlike other platforms, we ensured that we were going about it the right way. That if somebody couldn't verify, if we couldn't verify an ID, or if we couldn't verify somebody's age or their banking account, we closed the account. And so we did it the right way, right? We grew our platform the right way, and then we integrated with multiple payment processors just so we could pay people, because all social media content is considered high risk, even though it's not necessarily high risk. But that's how the world views it currently. That'll change over time. But so we've done a lot on the back end, and that's why we've been able to build to this point, and we've been able to continue to grow. We did the back end work, and we spent a lot of time on the back end work, creating a really robust platform that we're able to kind of pay people. Because I go back to that all the time, is the creators we deal with, the content creators we deal with, they, we hear a lot about crypto and going into NFTs, and we just recognize that our creators are hitting us every day and asking, am I going to get paid this week? Of course they get paid every week, but I want to get paid. They need the $400, $300 to pay their rent. They have to go to the grocery store, pay for daycare. So that's how we're building. We're like really common sense level build of how we're building this platform.
So I want to kind of like lock down a little bit in terms of are you as you use as a creator that's using TipSnaps, am I seeing this as in Lyonel, you've made a few references to Patreon, you've made a few references to Fanhouse. Fanhouse and Patreon are similar, but not totally similar, right? It's not necessarily 100% apples and apples comparison. So I'm curious, like, how would you say, are you more on the Patreon side of things, where you hope to allow people to, where it's like a gated community, so to speak, for content, for exclusive content, or do you see TipSnaps as being almost equal, like as very similar to, I guess, in the early stages of the modern day creator economy, where there's services that allow people to get tips, right? There's in one episode we had one of our guests in our early episodes of the show was sent a penny, where you obviously you can tip a penny to somebody, and then obviously we know Twitter and YouTube and Twitch, all they have those ways that you can tip these creators. Um, are you more on that side, or are you more on the exclusive subscription side of things?
So great. Thank you. Great question. So we have 3 transaction types. We have the monthly subscription, which is actually the majority of our revenue and marketplace volume. We do have the one-off tip, and then we have crowdfunding. We are definitely a gated community where we host the content of creators for their most fervent and true fans. Right, that 1% or less, or a fraction of a percent of fans that want that exclusive content. The interaction in DMs, for example, on TipSnaps. That's another thing that our creators really kind of sell, right? Because we're not replacing incumbent platforms, right? We're not replacing Instagram. We're not replacing Twitter. We're not replacing TikTok. We are additive. We're helping creators and educating creators who do not recognize yet, mainstream creators do not recognize the value of a subscription, a revenue stream, or a tipping revenue stream. And that's our focus. That's our core focus. And that's our core business. That's what's really driven all of our revenue, or the majority of our revenue. So I would say that. And I didn't answer your question in the beginning. How does it work? It takes 5 seconds to sign up. As a creator, you set your profile up, you upload content. You could upload teaser content. Now you have your unique URL, which you could add to your link, your link in bio kind of tree. And you start promoting it, right? There's one-off tips. So I could say, hey, I want to tip you as a fan $50 for this piece of content. Will you do it, right? And of course, the creator can decline, or they could fulfill. And then and then when you upload content, you categorize how you upload it. Is this a teaser piece where it's just visible to everybody? Is it just like a text post that's visible to everybody, or is it only to my monthly subscribers, right? So it's really intuitive. It's of course mobile first. We built it intentionally as just a mobile website, because if we went into the app stores, we'd be beholden to their fees, and then the business model wouldn't work. And I think a few creators made that mistake early on. So, and also Patreon doesn't really host a lot of content. Like oftentimes you have to just link out to content, which I think is interesting. And not favorable for creators or the fan experience. So a lot of the times Patreon is more of just like it's like a support mechanism. Again, that's fine. Incredible company. They've done incredible things. But again, our core focus, and I think what really differentiates us, is our focus on the niches of creators that are underserved and overlooked. As Vic alluded to, the Black TikTok strike happened, a year and a half ago, because creators of color were creating the trends, creating the dances, and not getting brand deals, not getting the recognition. And creators of color are 50% more likely, and this is Instagram's inside data than they just released, 50% more likely to be their account to just be automatically disabled, shadow banning based off hashtags. So we just know. So since early 2021, and so the information has a database of creator economy companies that are raising money, or who've closed money. Over almost $6 billion has been raised since early 2021 for creator, and it's 100 and some. How many companies are headed by Black founders? One. One. And we're not in that list, by the way. I think we'll get there. I think they'll add us. We're going to talk about the fundraising soon. And I'm excited to talk about that a bit. But we have a parallel story of inequity as founders of color, right? Being launched in 2017, bootstrapped to 100,000 users. How many companies would just raise at least several million in an early seed with those kind of metrics? And this isn't made up, right? We've been validated by Republic, or else we wouldn't be on Republic. We're not making this up. We're not lying, which is unfortunate that we have to say, but that's kind of the reaction we get. It's like, anyways. So my point in saying that is $6 billion into 175 companies, where almost none are headed by founders of color. However, from a usage standpoint, in the US market, Black and brown Instagram users over-index from their population standpoint, right? We're almost 40% of users on Instagram on a daily basis, daily active users. Yeah, Black and brown people are just heavy on Instagram. And this is Pew data, Pew research. So when you look at the leadership, right, from a product standpoint, from just organizational standpoint at Meta, boards, board members, shareholders, of course, founders, we're not there. We're just not there. And then the new generation of companies, we are not there, but we're the consumers. We're the core consumers. And so these companies run campaigns annually to say, we care about you guys, we care. But ultimately, if there's not people at every level, whether it's board, executive leadership, and then again, that's 175 companies driving the future of the creator economy, and we know who drives trends and culture, and we're not there. We have a mission to ensure that TipSnaps is successful, and that when other and it's not like there's this huge conspiracy, right? It's not like, oh my God, it's more of just systemic historical inequity that exists in capitalism, right? In Silicon Valley, in the startup ecosystem, it's basically trended so that it's harder for, and meanwhile, like when we're talking to our community, as Vic said, it's like, oh my God, we're waiting for something like this, right? We're waiting. I mean, especially, look, I actually am pretty favorable with Elon buying Twitter, and I think some really cool stuff's going to come from that, right? But there's so much conversation around, are we going to be okay on Twitter? Right? Are we going to be okay? And where are we going to go? Right? And there's not a good answer. And so it's beyond like, yes, we have a differentiating factor. I didn't even talk about our crowdfunding piece yet. I'll talk about that hopefully later. We could talk about it. But it's like, this is almost a necessity. There has to be some playing ground where like, and this is, again, Vic said, DI is about inclusion, not exclusion. So as we bring on creators of color, we get just as many white creators, because it's like, oh, it's a cool platform. This cool person is there. I want to be there. I digress.
Right. No, I mean, it's certainly, I mean, that's very informative. And, it's like, we have covered on the show and our news show, those type of things where, the Black creator strike with the whole TikTok issue, which technically I don't actually think has really been resolved, because I don't see anybody saying like, oh, well, TikTok hasn't done a mea culpa and here you go. Instagram's not saying, oh, we are totally right, here you go, like this is what we're doing. It kind of just fades from the headlines because of how really weird the news is these days, right? But that is certainly everything you said is certainly valid in terms of, yes, that there needs to be more inclusion in this space. It's not, and I think it's readily apparent, and most people, or most common people, will realize that, yes, there is, when it comes to investment, that it's people of color are missing out, women are missing out, women of color are missing out. There's a lack of that type of inclusion, both in terms of funding, but also in the workplace as well. So, I mean, certainly, this is stuff that, everyone has been talking about for years. And I'm glad to see that there are people that are coming in to help change these type of things. And that's something that we wanted to try and do for the show, is say, hey, you know what? Like, we want to bring on creators and builders into to chat with. And like a lot of people that we know happen to be, might be white or female, like cool. We know them, friends. They are who they are. But also we wanted to reach out to others as well and say, hey, let's show that this is more than just the common players that you might see. But I want to kind of steer us back a little bit here, and then we can certainly spend more time on the DEI side of things, because I'm curious in terms of how do you target, how are you targeting TipSnaps specifically, or how are you building TipSnaps specifically for people of color as opposed to, because it's readily available to anyone to do. But Lyonel, you talked about the crowdfunding aspect. You referenced that, and I saw something very curious about this as I'm doing research, right? And so this is we launched in 2021, launched it, right? And it basically allows fans to create crowdfunding campaigns for creators. This is not necessarily a Kickstarter type of thing. This is a reverse Kickstarter of sorts. Can you walk me through why this is this? I think this is. I don't think I've ever seen this with any company that's come across my plate. So, how does this work, and how does this encourage community, but also encourage the creators to kind of really brainstorm ideas, right? Because it's like we worry about burnout and everything like that. So how does this all work, and why did you guys do this?
I'll quickly speak to it, and I think Vic has a lot to say about Tippools as well. He's super passionate. So Tippools is fan initiated crowdfunding for content, and it's pay-per-view. So only the fans who chip into it get to see the content. So again, when I said we were early in the idea of subscriptions for creators 2017, pretty early, we're also early in this concept, and we're very bullish on it. We think so. The creator, I think Signal Fire said the creator economy is worth like $104 billion. A big portion of that, it's like maybe 20 to 30 billions from like subscriptions, whether it's the Patreons, the OnlyFans. We think this is going to it's going to take a good chunk from there, right? So right now the creator economy is top down. I'm the creator. I dictate the price. I dictate the content. I dictate the frequency of when I post. And you as a fan just have to take it or leave it. That's so from literally running TipSnaps, we got feedback, right? Saying, hey, I just subscribed to somebody for $30 this month. They uploaded one video that was like 30 seconds long, very horrible experience. I feel ripped off. And we're like, yeah, that's not great. That's not a great experience. What if fans could just come together through all the various communities that they come together, with Discord or Reddit or Telegram, and just say, we want to pay you this for this content. But through 100,000 fans or through 500 fans chipping in $5, there's so much more power there. And so the leverage, you get leverage as a fan base in a community, and it's literally just up to the creator whether or not they want to do it. So we pre-out the cards, but we do not charge, because it's not actually a thing yet until the creator comes in and claims that pool. I'll pause, Vic. Sorry if I stole some thunder.
No thunder at all. I think I agree completely. Where we see the utility of this is really important. Well, a couple of ways, but one way really is a lot of content creators are at this point now. They've created so much content. They're like, what to do next? What to do next? And the fans are like in the comment section saying, I want to see this. I want to see this. This is a great kind of melting pot of those positions, to where a content creator can use this as a utility as well and say, hey, fans, what do you want to see from me? What new content do you want to see from me? Hey, let's do a tip pool for this kind of content, this type of content, and let's see how many fans. If it gets to this, if it gets to the goal, I'll do it, and then drive that virally on social media. We think that'll work out well. And again, it gives people like TikTokers and we talk to them all the time. They who contact us and say, I have 1 million followers on TikTok. I'm doing these massive numbers on TikTok, but I'm working my day job. I want to quit my day job. I want to do this full time, but I'm not making any money. And for us, we see tip pools as that opportunity for them to kind of game change. So yeah, TipSnaps, our core feature, they could always do that. That will always be there, and that's always a great option. But this is a way that flips that model on its head and gives the fans an opportunity to contribute to the ideas that creator wants to do. So I know a lot of content creators, like I said, that they need this, and we know, based like Lyonel alludes to, the fans really need it because they're kind of stuck in the comments right now, and they have a lot to say. So this is we call it the ultimate fan feedback loop.
Right. So what is to stop anyone? Like I said, this is something like, oh, this is kind of an interesting, form of bribery, and I use the word bribery in a playful manner, not necessarily
Right.
in a negative fashion, but it's like, oh, bribery is like, hey, I got some money, you can do, like, here, can you do this? But you see people who, and once in a while, like at least on Instagram, the people I follow, they'll say, oh, what kind of content do you want to see next? Do you want to see, like, I do a lot of photography, so I love, following people like that post photos and what, like, oh, what kind of photos do you want to see next, and blah blah blah, and then people can comment or vote and those type of things, and there's no transaction involved, right? And people freely will put stuff out there, whether it's snarky or legitimate, like, I want to see this type of stuff. So what is the motivation for someone to use a tip pool and say, like, for example, like, Vic, man, I love, the work that you've done. I want to see more, like, artwork or blah blah blah. Like, Lionel and I kind of band together, put in, like, $100 each, and say, hey, can you put this together, right? Like, as opposed to just saying, hey, Vic, can you just do this? Like, what do you think about doing this? We'd love to see more of this type of content that you're creating. Like, how do you motivate the fans to participate monetarily?
So fans, so Tippools it's truly a petition until it's claimed by the creator. Again, like, there's no transaction until the creator comes, claims the pool, creates an account, etc. Uploads the content, then we go and charge. But the fans are already motivated. They're all talking about it. So it's almost like it's building something before people know they need it, right? So if you go and so many creators. So we've got, like, the top 3,000 creators on TikTok and Instagram. Like, we have just a list that we found, and like, almost every one of them has a Reddit community around them, right? And they're discussing the creator, and of course, as Vic said, they're in the comments, tens of thousands of comments across all their content. So they are actually asking for content frequently, and many creators are not actively looking to, like, try and engage and say, what are you guys looking for? And even if they do that, the fans themselves. So a couple Tippools that we've seen, and it's of course they're going to get the salacious stuff. We absolutely have moderation. We've got a big red button that says, this is about me. I don't like it. Take it down. We get it. We turn it around within 24 hours. But, a couple examples, like, a few people want to see The Rock and Vin Diesel arm wrestle. I don't know.
Sure.
Nicki Minaj and Cardi B, they've had a beef in the past. People want to see them squash the beef, get together, and make a track. People just want Chris Rock to talk about what happened with Will Smith. Just talk about it, and they're fundraising for it. So again, you're going to get a lot of that kind of TMZ style mega celebrity stuff. But what you're also going to get, as Vic alluded to, we've seen a tip pool where a fashionista on TikTok, there's a $500 pool where people just want to just tell us your get ready routine, because everything is, like, after, like, you just see the end product in her fashion, her makeup. How do you get ready? Like, just show us that, expose that to us. $500. So we think there's going to be, and that's just one example. We think tip pools goes across every niche of creator fandom. It goes across every content niche. And it's a utility. It's like the same way subscriptions a utility, crowdfunding absolutes utility. So I don't think we're going to have to motivate the fans. It's more of just an educational thing to say, oh, okay, I get it. So, I mean, the success of petition or change.org or GoFundMe, it's GoFundMe for social media content. It has to happen. And what's interesting, again, Black-owned company, you said it, you haven't seen this yet. And we launched it back last July. So we're really early. We're not going to say that we think we're first. We know that we're already aware of a couple competitors who are launching similar products. But what's interesting is when we speak to venture capitalists and tell them about Tippools, everybody's eyebrow raises. Very interesting. But I'll talk about the fundraising piece in a bit, because I know we're going to talk about why we're on Republic.
No, and as you explain it, I'm like, oh, no duh. Like, I literally, like, wow, that helped answer the question, because it was like I'm like, okay, how would you motivate me to say, okay, I'm gonna participate in this? Because I get that no money changes hands until the creator says, yes, I'm going to do that. And I think for the creator side, as they see this traction in these petitions, like, okay, yeah, everyone can spam my this Reddit, or spam me on Twitch or on Instagram or Facebook or blah blah blah, and say, yeah, do this, and you're like, okay, so how do you quantify that? But you're seeing, like, oh, a lot of people want to see me, go bull riding. Like, okay, like, but like, how many, like, are people just saying it just to say it, or are they saying it because they legitimately want to see it? And Lionel, the example you raised, like the fashionista, I'm like, yeah, it's worth their time to say, yes, I want to, this is in content that people are invested in, right? As opposed to, like, she can, this creator can go ahead and do it themselves, right? And have it to be organic. But the fact that, say $500 got chipped in from this community, I'm like, hey, people are legitimately interested. So that may, but that hopefully can steer her to afterwards say, oh, people were interested in this for $500. Maybe this opens a new line for stuff that I can create down the road, maybe additional hairstyles or
Yep.
fashion
It
outfits,
just
or
opens up a new area of content for them. So like a couple big YouTubers that were a couple, they broke up and they never talked about it. That's another Tippool that happened. Just tell us what happened.
yeah.
Right. And these are hundreds of thousands of fans, almost like an insane rate of their fans, like from the 100%, like a huge percentage of fans would have chipped into this if they're just aware of it. So it's really just, once it becomes a utility, we just know that almost every area of fandoms and niches will use it. And again, that's yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a challenge. It's like the ultimate challenge, right? And it's like, will you do this? And before, maybe a content creator is like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not interested. But if you have $20,000 sitting there in a pot, and it's ready, you're like, and you're trying to, pay some rent, because remember, most of the creators we're talking to are regular, everyday people like us on this call. I mean, they need the money, so they're going to consider that, and then it's like it flips the model on its head, because now fans, and this is pulling from other platforms, because now fans aren't, maybe they don't want to subscribe, monthly anymore. Maybe I just want to work in Tippools. Maybe I'm just going to surf the net for Tippools that are things that I want to see, instead of me paying somebody $20 a month. Maybe I'll just, contribute to $5 to 4 Tippools and see if I can get them to activate. Maybe, and so it's less committal on the part of the fans, and really it's kind of less committal on the part of the content creator, because that creator could lean in, produce Tippools the entire time, and not have to consistently worry about creating this unique content to keep their to keep their page going with their subscription-based model. So this is going to flip the creator economy on its head all the way.
So it's literally a field of dreams type of moment, right? If you build it, they will come. And at this point, because they have paid for it, regardless of that, whether they actually watch it at the end, you still get the money anyway. So it's like, as opposed to saying like, oh, I'm going to let's have people on this podcast. I'm going to do this podcast. Is anyone actually going to watch it?
Yeah.
I don't know. But if we do a tip pool and people are like, hey, like, who do you want on the show? Right. And then people like, oh, we want, the Gary V's of the show. We want the Baratundes on the show. And like, okay, cool. We get Baratunde on there, offer it as an exclusive thing. And we, Greg and I rake in, $100 for it. Like, like, cool. Like, but that's like, at least somebody wanted to see this and is willing to pay for it, as opposed to, okay, now how many people are view this? Oh man, not that many people view this. How am I going to make money off of the ads that are running on this? And it's like, okay, this
answers a lot of questions. It answers, like, we've even spoken to like traditional media folks, like, people who run concerts, and it's like, this would solve so many, like, A-lister, I'm not going to name names, but like there was a pretty big live event company heard about Tippools, and like, this would solve some problems, because we were concerned. And it was the A-lister, top 100 artists. We just weren't sure that what the sales would be in Nashville or whatever.
Right.
It's like, well, if we just ran this, we'd have like concrete, like, this is how many tickets we're going to sell.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's one usage. We really think that the majority is going to be grassroots. It's not going to be mega celebrities. There are going to be a lot of TMZ against style, like salacious stuff, but it's going to be grassroots, mid-tier creators to even lower tier creators, just saying, hey, look, what do y'all want? And I think there's a lot of utility there. So,
yeah. Vic, I want to go back to this DEI right now. Because this is a public well, not publicly traded, but it's an open open platform for anyone can join, right? And I applaud the targeted towards people of color, but of course this is open, like anyone can join. So how are you reaching your audience, and how are you building these features that will resonate with your target audience, with your core constituency, if you will, while recognizing that anyone can use it? Like, how does it make how is it? I guess I don't want to make this in a weird way, but how is it different, right? That how different is that experience?
So one way that we're doing this, besides we just general outreach, just being really loud on social media, kind of really explaining our mission, that just speaks for itself. It resonates with the community really well. One thing that I think we've done that's really unique, and I don't know of many platforms that are doing it, is we have a creator advisory program where we're literally offering equity shares of TipSnaps Inc. to content creators who are culture drivers, right? So we're really leaning into the message of equity. So because we want to not only bring people to our platform and service them well, where there's no algorithms that kind of diminish their voices. Everybody can fairly like compete, right? That's all content creators want. I just want to kind of fairly compete with my counterparts. I don't want some algorithm driving them up, and I'm doing the same content and they're kind of driving me down. So we created this. So we're doing that one, but then the creator advisory board, we just feel that it's important that if content creators are on our platform and they're big and they have this kind of great following on social media and they're using the platform and driving, it's only fair that they get a little piece. And that works well because in our community, there's this big push for entrepreneurship, ownership, because for years we haven't had it. And for years we've been searching for how to do it, how to get out of the rabbit hole, how to start building some generational wealth. And for us, we view the creator economy as a way to build generational wealth long term. So we're looking at this from a multitude of ways. And the creator advisory program, we feel, gives people not only, so you're not just kind of making money to pay your rent, you also have an equity share of a company that could have an insane valuation in 3 or 4 years. So to us, that is kind of getting that out to creators as much as possible and trying to leverage that as much as possible is important to us, because that means the community is invested in our platform. And going back to your point, that is why the community that's why we continue growing. I mean, we're registering maybe 100 people every day, like literally. And it's not because we have this crazy marketing program or this growth, which is just because we're outreaching. And we're speaking and saying the right things.
How do you approach? What advice would you give to other companies, like to entrepreneurs who say see what you're doing? Like, yes, we need to make the creator economy more diverse. We need to make the industry more diverse. We need to make the internet more diverse, right? And bring more people into this. What advice would you give them in terms of how they build their products, or how they kind of evolve their companies?
I'll let Lyonel speak to this, but I'll just make the point. It has to be common sense. Like, you got to meet creators where they are. And I think that a lot of the platforms we're seeing, they're building amazing products. I can't discount the products, the ideas, particularly going into Web3. It makes a lot of sense. We know it. But a lot of the creators aren't at Web3 level yet. They will be over time, but right now they need USD. They need money, and so you have to meet the creators where they are, and you have to build your products and build the features to support their needs right now, and then help them, educate them, and help them grow into Web3. Because everybody, I think because we're in tech, like you said earlier, we're in tech, we just automatically know Web3. Everybody just kind of understands it and gets it. But a lot of regular creators, they're not necessarily there yet. So we just got to meet folks where they are. And I don't know, Lyonel probably has a few more thoughts on that as well.
No, I mean, beautifully said. I think that just to add on for advice to other companies, I think it starts with, your team, right? So when your team is kind of monolithic, your kind of view, I'm not saying like every team is monolith, but like your views are limited. And again, right, like Tippools came, I mean, Ken, you said it. I'm sure you've had several. I don't know if it's 100, but probably nearing 100 companies in the creator economy on your podcast. You haven't heard the concept of crowdfunding for content yet, and that came from a Black-owned, tech startup that and we're gonna talk about funding in a second, but to be frank, has struggled to raise capital, right, regardless of our traction. And again, it's like I almost feel like I have to say this, but we wouldn't be on Republic if it wasn't validated, right? Our financials have been audited, and so in 2017, we launched in March. Within a year, after a year, 100,000 registered users, $600,000 of marketplace volume paid out to creators. And back then we had a 15% platform fee. So we had revenue. I was making money. I was just like, oh, this is cool. My first startup, built this product by myself, nights and weekends while I'm working full-time at J&J. No big deal. It's like, no, it is a big deal. And so I start outreaching. I actually get in front of, some, I don't want to, but I got in front of first round, right? I got in front of NEA. And some of the things I heard back was like, is this a real business model? This is 2018. So creator economy kind of came into the fold, and sure, 2020 hits, pandemic hits, everybody's like creator economy. But back then it was just like influencer marketing. And it's like, this seems like influencer marketing. That ship has sailed. Doesn't seem like a real business model. I'm like, well, it is a real business model because I bootstrapped 100,000 registered users. So there was some distrust, I think, there, which was a bit, disappointing. So after about, 20 kind of, meetings where it's like, hey, keep in touch, interesting, you get something cool going on, I kind of gave up, right? I gave up. I was like, I'm just going to keep going. I was cash flow positive. I hired some folks in the Philippines to help with support. I hired a couple guys in Ukraine to help with software development, and we kept growing. But of course, to really scale a really impactful platform, you got to raise capital. You got to scale a real team. And again, holding my full-time job because creator economy is pretty low margins. It's really amazing at scale, but until you're hitting that crazy scale, you're operating pretty low margins. So although I'm making like $4,000 or $5,000 a month, I'm like, well, I'm just reinvesting that. I'm not going to quit my job because I have a mortgage to pay. I have a daughter. I live in the real world. I don't have anybody who's just going to I don't have a friends and family around, to be frank, right? Like my dad raised us off $30,000 a year, super hardworking, never took any government assistance, but I just don't come from that world or that background. And then going to that world and saying, hey, I've done some amazing stuff, but they're like, I don't know. So 2020 hits, the pandemic happens. Everybody's into the creator economy. Again, since early 2021, $6 billion has been invested into 175 companies. So you ask, why are we raising on Republic? Well, now we've almost, you could feel the rub. You could feel it. We've got a mission, and it's almost a vendetta to say, you know what? We want to raise with our community. We want to raise with the crowd. And when we sell that message, it's working, right? It's not that we're against, traditional or institutional money. We're still having meetings. We actually closed a pre-seed round in 2021 with some awesome, angel investors, founders of Rackspace. So awesome guys. They kind of understand the vision and they believe in us. So it's not that, we've got like this thing, we're enemies of VC, but what we are saying is like, hey, in 2018, we were right about the creator economy. In 2022, we're right about crowdfunding for content. You got to be equitable in who you invest in. And why not invest in people who have traction? 500,000 users, you're not wrong, have a real mission, and know what they're doing, right? Versus like just portco or portfolio founders, right? And that's the disappointing part about the existing kind of, system that we're living in. But at the same time, we're very bullish. We're really excited. And we do have a lot of supporters as well. So we have a lot of friends and supporters.
So let me make sure I have these stats right. So you said 500,000 users right now on TipSnaps.
Sorry.
Approximately
458,000 to be exact, but nearing 500,000. Yep.
And then 8 million visitors to TipSnaps.
Yeah. 8.5 million have visited.
8.5 million, right? And more than 2.5 million have been paid out to more than 60,000 creators.
So 60,000 users have registered as creators, but earning creators is more like 3,000. So that 2.5 mil went out to about 3,000 people. There's a huge education gap with creators. Some know what they're doing. Most don't. Most are just like, I created a TipSnaps, now what? They don't understand that they have to actively promote it on their stories on Instagram or wherever. They don't recognize that they have to add their link to their bio. That's not even that obvious to every creator. So that's part of our mission too, is just educating, like, look, you need a link in bio tool. You need to be promoting on a weekly basis our most successful creators, and you have to like tease content, right? Like, why am I going to just, what's behind that paywall? Well, you got, so our most successful creators as well, the tutorial around hair and beauty, I have the 1-minute video on YouTube, but if you want the full 10-minute video, subscribe, because I need that support. It helps me do this full time. That's very obvious to many creators, but so many creators don't get that and kind of like segmenting their content. But yeah, sorry, that those stats are right.
Yeah, and then you keep 10% of each transaction, and it is estimated to have 275,000 in lifetime revenue for TipSnaps. Is that accurate? Okay.
That's right.
And so again, as you mentioned many times, you've been largely bootstrapped, and you raised, is this figure right? 17,000, just 18,000 in funding, or is that
no? So we raised a $200,000 pre-seed round.
Okay.
And on Republic, we're raising $750,000 actively now.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's all total, you're looking at maybe like $1 million in overall funding. And when do you anticipate the Republic part closing, the Republic round closing?
Yeah, hopefully by like late June, early July, the latest. But yeah, hopefully within the next month and a half.
And let's talk about let's dive a little bit more into the funding aspect of things here. You talked about how the I guess the difficulties that you had reaching institutional investors, and this is something I've heard many times. I've never had the luxury of pitching investors. I'm not the entrepreneur, but I understand how difficult it can be. Who are the type of investors that you want to reach, and hopefully if they're watching this in the future, they see this episode, like, yes, we see what you're doing. Who are, like, what would your pitch be to them, and what do you hope that they will recognize about why they should make that investment?
Maybe I'll let Vic start if you want to start, Vic.
I think we just want people who believe in us and kind of believe in the mission and kind of see the vision, particularly the vision of Tippools and just kind of that market opportunity there. It's like literally untapped, and it's crossing all platforms, all niches, which we think is just an amazing opportunity. But beyond that, just the core value, like our core value system, right? What we were able to build. We didn't take shortcuts. We did it the right way. Like I said, we built it the right way, doing it the right way. And for us, that was very important. So just investors who kind of recognize the hard work that we put in and see what we've done pretty much with no resources. And then for them to understand that if we got the equitable amount of resources, where could we be? Right? If we've done all of this right now with just a couple pennies in VC investment land, like what we've raised is, just a couple pennies. What could we do with equitable funding to our counterparts, right? I mean, it's just a simple message. So for us, it's just really just hitting home, like, do you believe in us and do you believe in our mission? And for us, if there are kind of investors like that, we can rock with you all day.
And to tag on to that, so when we say that Black Hair and Beauty monetization subscriptions is worth $1 billion, to believe us. And it's not, this isn't just like, this is quantitative. Again, we scraped YouTube, 1.5 million Black Hair and Beauty creators on YouTube alone. Imagine when that light bulb clicks and they say, everybody needs to directly monetize. And so comedians of color who, right now, their kind of primary way of monetizing is like, promoting a live show and touring, different cities. Children influencers, insane opportunity with children influencers. Just help fund me. This is for my college tuition, in 18 years. I make these awesome videos, your kids watch, and they need a safe place to do this. And the existing platforms aren't speaking to them. We're speaking to them. Right. So like recognizing that, and like, I mean, this is a bit harsh, but like, it's almost like, you know, I forget his name, but the founder of BT, Johnson, saying, you know, there needs to be a television network for Black consumers. When we say that there needs to be a creator economy platform for creators and consumers of color, that we're saying that almost the same thing. And it's almost like you're just disregarding that. And in every form of media, that's always been true. So why wouldn't it be true for the creator economy? So we're looking for investors who, number one, want to help shift so like our message of equity for creators is parallel to our passion and our experience as founders, right? Like, we think there needs to be more startups that are led by successful unicorn startups that are led by founders of color, and again, not excluding anybody. There's so few that there's always going to be like, systemic inequity until there's more. And we're great. We've done so much with so little, as Vic said. And so we want founders or investors who kind of recognize that and see the opportunity, because, you know, it's right there, and we're going to get it one way or another.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So can you give us like what's on the roadmap for TipSnaps? Because I what I love about the promise of an early stage startup, right, and it is just like where all the areas where you can go, right, and you know, the sky's the limit. Obviously, I consider like the Tippool is a signature part. I think that's absolutely fascinating. Are there potential integrations with other like maybe, I don't know, not necessarily native integrations with like a YouTuber or anything like that, but third-party integrations with some popular services to kind of bring people together, so that way it's not just this lonely island out there, like TipSnaps is over here, and then you have all these others. Like, let's bridge everything together to kind of show that this is how, you know, everything can flow together, instead of just saying, oh, I got to do this. Okay, let me open this to the other browsers. Let me go here. Then I go to this, and I got to go here. You know, it's like just it all just flows, right? You know, I guess it's that whole like that Bruce Lee thing is like, be still, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. I don't know why I'm on the Bruce Lee. It's a thing. I guess his name just came up early. Anyway, but you know what I mean? Where like, what can you give us give me a preview about like what are some things you like to see or could happen in the near future?
So although we're, as Vic said, our primary kind of motive is meeting creators where they are today, we're absolutely bullish on Web3, right? So we're looking at a couple token or networks where we want to integrate that would reward both fans and creators based off activity. So not even like a subscription, just activity on the platform, whether you just made a comment, you know, rewarding tokens. And also I think that diversifies monetization potential for creators. So we're looking at that hopefully by the end of this year, like activating. That does not remove like fiat currency monetization. It's adding on. We're adding more features that we think add equity, right? So based off your pricing tier, as a creator, we're adding, and we're trying to be very careful about this, but like basically asset minimums. So if you're charging fans $50 a month, like you should upload a certain number of assets, and it shouldn't just be kind of like, and it's not that we're going to, ban you from the platform. It's more of just like encouragement. And just, almost like it's like have you met your quota for the month, but there's no like hard punishment. So we think that's really unique as well. And it serves the fans as well, because they're like, oh, I know I'm going to get X number of assets this month, which is cool for my dollars. And then in terms of integration with like, the incumbent platforms, we've got like the traditional just registration. I think where we live and where we play, it's very much link in bio. That's just naturally how we have to operate, and all of our competitors are in the same space. We're less about like how seamless can we integrate with like the incumbent platforms aside from registration and like posting to. We're not really worried about that, because again, we're hosting our own content. We're hosting your content as a creator. It's more about how do we build more equity in for everyone, and then how do we drive more adoption, and how do we just simplify and improve improve the experience, user experience, so that it's just even more seamless for everybody. Vic, I don't know if I missed anything. If you want to add.
The only part is I would suggest is we've had a lot of conversations about integrating community. How do we keep people on the platform so they can build community again, within one another? So we have a lot of people that come on every day. We want them to be able to engage with one another more seamlessly. So we're going to continue to build that.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Lyonel and Vic, for joining me on this show. It's so great to hear about TipSnaps. Good luck to you on the fundraising and on the future. And when you guys have more updates, feel free to drop us a line. I'd love to have you back on the show and talk more. This has been just an absolutely fascinating conversation. And thanks for educating me about what you guys are doing. So.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, Ken. Yeah.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Created Economy. Oh, and forgot to mention, if you want to find out more about TipSnaps, go to tipsnaps.com. You can find out more about their Republic fundraising as well. Be sure to support these guys. They're doing. It looks like they're doing some really great stuff. And then you can listen to all your past episodes of Created Economy just on your favorite podcasting app. Don't forget, that's on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, Audible, Castbox, and Stitcher, or wherever you want to listen to your favorite podcasting, So, yeah, and without further ado, we'll call this a day. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and be sure to check out our next episodes. We have some great guests lined up. And with that, bid you all a fond farewell. Have a good one. See ya.